how we lit a plain room like Euphoria, from boring to cinematic. Today, I'll show you how we took a basic room and recreated two stylized lighting setups inspired by the show Euphoria. We started by analyzing the reference. The key was a directional hard light with organic movement, a branchiolorus effect that mimics light passing through trees. It adds great texture and life to a mostly static shot. There's also a bit of light pushing through the background, adding texture and depth, lifting the shadows, and creating a subtle hair light that separates the subject from the background. Most importantly, look at the eye reflections. As the camera moves in, the highlights increase in scale and intensity to support the character's internal shift. And finally, hair movement to emphasize the transition. Here's the step-by-step on how we recreated it. First things first, we turned off all the apartment lights so we had a completely blank canvas. We set our camera's white balance to 5000 Kelvin. For our key light, we used the Nanlite FC500B paired with a 25 to 45 degree zoom projector mount. This lens is incredibly helpful for shaping the beam, even in tight spaces. We positioned the light slightly above the talent at a 45 degree angle, dialing it to 5% intensity and 3000 Kelvin for a warm, cinematic feel. Normally, to create this effect, you'd use a cucoloris for a static shadow pattern, or real tree branches if you want that natural movement you see in the reference. But there was one small problem. Spring had just started and all the trees around us were still completely bare. So, we improvised. We ordered 4 cheap fake branches with leaves from Allegro, about $1 each. The only problem? When the branches arrived, the leaves were huge. So we did a little DIY filmmaking. Trimmed them down, reshaped them, and basically handcrafted our own mini tree. Then we rigged the branches in front of the light and tied them together with some thread. And with just one little pull, the shadows started dancing perfectly across our talent's face. Low budget, but very Euphoria. Since we didn't have enough branches to cover the entire set, we kept the background simple. We hung some old sheer curtains over the balcony and pushed a soft, warm fill light through them. For this, we used a Nanlite FC120C with a standard reflector set to 36 degree of hue in HSI mode, 3% intensity, and 28% saturation. To fill in the shadows, we rigged up a Pavo Tube 30C with a grid, dialed to 8% intensity at 6200 Kelvin. We placed a white bounce cloth on the floor and laid a Pavo Tube 30C on top, set to 3200 Kelvin. To recreate our reference look, we wrapped the middle of the tube with black cloth, splitting the light into 2 distinct catch lights in the talent's eyes. As the camera pushed in, we used the Nanlink app to slowly ramp the brightness from 0 to 100%. Finally, we used a simple fan to add some wind to the hair to emphasize the surreal effect. This created a highly effective, stylized look that adds instant mood and movement to the scene.
I think I need your help.
Moving on to the second shot. Looking at our reference, we instantly noticed 2 narrow strips of rim light. On one side, we have a cool, soft light mimicking moonlight from a window. On the other side, we have flickering light imitating a working TV. Plus, there's a beautiful mix of cool and warm background lighting that adds incredible depth and contrast. Here's how we built it. Once again, we shut off all the house lights. The white balance was kept at 4500 Kelvin to really make those cool and warm tones pop against each other. Out on the balcony, we rigged a Nanlite Pavo Tube 2 with DIY barn doors. To get that cool moonlight look, we set it to 32% intensity, 200 degrees in HSI mode, and 50% saturation. To hide the light source and stop it from spilling onto the ceiling, we just taped up some black cloth to act as a flag. Next, we added a splash of warm light onto the curtain to create that color contrast. We used the Nanlite FC500B on a stand, set to 34% intensity at 3200 Kelvin. We used the projector mount again to get a perfectly controlled beam of light. To get that cool light slashing across the cheek, we placed another Pavo Tube 230C on the side. We dialed it to 185 degrees in HSI, 20% intensity, and 42% saturation, just enough to give a highlight without overpowering the shot. Here's where we had to get creative. We used a Nanlite FC120C light to fake the TV glow. It has a built-in TV effect, but we noticed the reference shot had shifting colors on the face. The standard TV effect jumps between colors too hard and too randomly, which didn't match the reference. Instead of that, we used the loop hue effect, setting the hue range from 166 to 271 with 23% saturation. Then, to get the flickering TV screen look, we manually bumped the brightness up and down between 10 and 20% using the app. And there you have it. This breakdown shows how much you can achieve in a basic apartment with smart lighting, a little creativity, and maybe a fake branch, and boom, you're in Euphoria. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.